Hey, welcome to the Invigorate podcast. This is where we talk about all the ongoing challenges and the realities of living with autoimmune disease, but also solutions to help better our situation.
That's absolutely right. And we're Chris and Karin. Today's joined by a special guest, Heather Knox. What's going on, Heather? On today, pretty good, pretty good. Today's episode, we're going to talk about alopecia. Some of you may only think of it as hair loss, but it's actually connected to autoimmune disease and chronic illness.
So, hair loss, hair thinning can come up in a number of different autoimmune diseases. I've seen it, personally experienced it with lupus, and then there's thyroid disease, psoriasis. But in addition to the actual autoimmune diseases attacking our hair and causing it to thin and fall out, some of the medications using to treat those autoimmune diseases actually cause hair loss. And that was my personal experience that we'll get into. So it comes in a variety of ways, unfortunately.
Now, the official medical school textbook term is alopecia areata, and it begins with your immune system. Basically, your immune system's attacking the hair follicles. But something that blew my mind that I had no idea about until we were really doing the research for this episode is that it even affects your nails. Right? It treats your nails as a foreign thing in your body and attacks your nails. So sometimes when you see sort of the white streaks across the nail, that can also be a form of alopecia. But essentially, alopecia is generally a medical term for hair loss or baldness, and areata means that it occurs in small random areas. So it's not necessarily the whole head or the whole body part, but it's kind of like patches showing up along the way.
Right. In my case, so as you can tell, my head is shaved. We'll get into why here in a bit. But in my case, my alopecia is the diffuse alopecia areata. So it's thinning all over rather than coming out in big noticeable clumps, right? So when I had more hair, before I decided to shave it, be in the shower and brushing my hair, and I would be losing, a ton of hair just there in the shower, on my fingers, on the brush after. I would fill up a brush each time, and it's like, where is all this coming from, and why is this happening? And I also, it's funny you mentioned the nails, because that was something I didn't know, and it makes a lot of sense. I don't have a great way to show you, but my nails are dry and brittle, and that's only like slowly come about the further progressed my alopecia was. And I do get the white streaks and the ridges and everything too.
So with that, I thought that when my nails were being like brittle like that, I thought I was missing some sort of mineral, like I didn't have enough like calcium or something. I had no idea what was going on. I just kind of charged it to the lupus game of like, well, here's another thing, like, just it's like, what else can go wrong? Sure, here we go, nails.
Heather, I think go ahead.
Also good. Now, I was just gonna say, like, I think when you talk about like shaving the head rather than just like sort of like growing it out to sort of like cover the bald spots, it reminded me of when I first discovered right after my first lupus flare that I was losing hair in patches too, because I just went for just a standard haircut. It was when I used to keep my hair in the style called a Caesar, and I went to go get a Caesar, and it was just like the barber was like, man, what's going on with your head? And it's like, I just like wanted to just melt into the barber chair. I'm just like, I don't know. I guess it's stress. I have no idea what's going on. I went to work. I was a school teacher, and my kids thought I lost a bet. And I was like, no, I didn't bet anybody. I don't know what's happening right now. You know what I mean?
So, Chris, you didn't realize you were losing your hair until you went to the barber?
No, I guess I kept trying to like delude myself because I was like in the shower. And like I was like, well, you shed hair. Like I just kept kind of like thinking of things in that way. I was like, well, you shed. I'm an animal, right? Animals shed their hair, like humans are animals. So like I'm just thinking that could be it. But yeah, it wasn't until I went to the barber and got what I was anticipating being just a proper haircut, and then it really shed light on what was going on with my hair at the time. And I remember it took me years to go back, even after my health started to turn the corner, to go back to the barber. I just like kept growing my hair long and long because I was just kind of like afraid that like shaving it close again was going to like expose it. Now I just like having longer hair, but there's still a part of me that if I thought about getting like a fade or a different like low hairstyle, I'm still kind of tense about if there'd be like spots I didn't know about otherwise, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
I was in denial for so long with mine too. I'm like, oh, it's just thinning a little. If I just brush it like this, it's okay. But you run out of ways you can brush it or style it. And I had
Right.
longer hair, and I've done short hair too, and bright colored hair. But I kept noticing more and more of these just little bald spot when I pull my hair back, or a little more here and a little more here. And I tried like the scalp spray color stuff you can try. That's sort of my last attempt at trying to salvage it. And I just finally had to just accept that this is what was happening and what was going to
Right.
keep happening. And it's a tough thing to swallow if you're very tied into your hair and fashion and makeup and stuff like I am.
Come on. 100%.
Well, I think our hair is a huge part of our identity, right? And how we look, how we feel. For me, I didn't have direct hair loss from lupus itself, but the steroids and immunosuppressants that I've on have
Right.
caused it to thin out. So before, when my hair was normal, I could never wear it like in a bob because there was just so much of it, it'd just be yeah, it's out of control. But to Heather's point, like, yeah, I chopped it off. Silver lining is it's very easy to take care of with two small boys at home.
There we go. There we go.
Thing.
Right.
Right. Simplify your life. I respect it.
Oh, heck yeah, you have to.
Right.
So I think embracing it is a big part of it. One thing that has helped me is my doctor prescribed methylfolate, which is a B vitamin that has helped me keep it through. I'm technically on chemotherapy, so that has
Right.
helped me keep it what I have left after it was falling out. So sometimes you can stall it, but and Heather, I don't know if you found any products that actually help, but I've found that more nutrition and the B vitamins also help with your nails too.
Right.
And I think that approach might be more effective than more of the topical treatments, but it's different for everyone, obviously.
I'm luck with adjusting my diet and taking multivitamins and biotin and I think
Yeah.
folate for my nails. And I never really
Right.
got too much I didn't really touch what was happening up here. My hair will grow very long. It's just the thinning part is
Yeah.
stuff I'm trying is not reversing that. But I have not tried minoxidil, which I believe is like Rogaine or whatever, and that's just a personal choice. I know I don't have the ability to stick with a regimen like that, and as soon as you stop it, I guess it just kind of reverts back to,
Oh,
the
no
hair will
kidding.
come back out. And so, and again, that's not personal experience. That's just what I talked to my
What
doctor
you've
about.
heard.
And so I know something I won't stick with, so it's not really going to help me in the long run, but
Yeah.
may
So
work for
is it a longer term plan? Like, what's the situation that you wouldn't stick with it? Because I'm the same way. It's like if this is really involved, it's going to be hard for me to follow.
It's something that you apply, a couple times a day, every day. And I just, I have a 6-year-old daughter turning 7, and I struggle with taking medications on a regular basis and sticking with them. And that's just adding one more thing to what's already kind of like a house of cards as far as my ability to stick with another regimen for my health or another routine in our household that I somehow have to accommodate when things can be a bit chaotic. Definitely more of a me problem. Other people might find that it works really great for them. We're all different.
I love how you talk about it though, Heather, because I really do think that, especially if you're taking multiple medicines, it really does feel like that sort of house of cards. And I know they have to do the juggling in terms of the doctors and the pharmacists on their end to make sure, for example, they could also treat you with like corticosteroids, but that would also they'd have to make sure that wasn't going to interfere with another medicine you may be on, or thinking about like how phototherapy is good, but if you're someone who has lupus, being in the sun too much and getting too much sunlight couldn't be great for you, but also just thinking about all the different sort of moving parts, so to speak. But I know dermatologists, it's important for the audience to know, even though we always associate them just with skin, like you're going to a dermatologist, like a teenager has acne or something, but they also deal with skin and nails. So there's some other resources for sure.
Well, and I found dermatologists are helpful for the hair piece of it, but I've had a lot of issues with skin lesions and whatnot
Mm-hmm.
from my lupus, and they've been a great resource in helping treat just like acute symptoms coming up from in that aspect.
Right, right.
So it's
Absolutely.
like there's definitely over the counter treatments, but uh, if you can like talk to your dermatologist and primary care provider, it's like they're willing to work with you and try different prescription medications. But like we said, a lot of times it comes back to lifestyle and what we're putting into our bodies that makes more of
Mm-hmm.
a difference than anything that can be prescribed to us.
That's what you really find is just the long haul, you know, doing the basics. Speaking about it just through that lens of lupus again, wearing sunglasses, staying hydrated, eating a lot of veggies and fruit and good protein, like having a balanced diet, all these things just work in general, just for overall health, but particularly thinking about your hair, and its health. These are all really good things that can help, maybe not even reverse it, but make sure it doesn't worsen.
Yeah, and along with that, I hate to say this, but like stress management is a huge thing. I can tell when I'm stressed that, then things start to just get a little more chaotic. You don't quite take care of yourself as much as you could. And then it manifests in various symptoms, whether it's hair loss or skin lesions or arthritis or something else. Um,
Yeah.
it's just a multifaceted approach.
Yeah, yeah. It's really important to make sure something I've thought about very recently is the ways in which, and it's almost like you can laugh at yourself thinking about it, but how are you going to sort of like mitigate the stressors in your life? Like, what are the things that kind of set your body over the edge? Like, if you're someone who used to get 5 hours of sleep and call it a day, no, get some real sleep. If you're used to just, always being on the go, what does it mean to sort of, I was just saying to Heather and Karen, when I came home today, I just sat and just stared at this blank TV for an hour. It was lovely. It was wonderful. I'm sure I looked like I was out of my mind if someone were to see me, but it just felt great to just do nothing. No sound, no no stimulation except for just the sunshine. It was wonderful. So take care of yourself, y'all. Take care of yourselves.
You need that quiet space for sure.
It's critical. It's critical, especially with the little ones. I think all of us have little ones. We know how it goes. Yeah,
For sure.
that's it. That's it. Well,
She's
I
still
think
on the
it's.
fence. Sorry. My
Oh,
little
go
one
ahead.
is still on the fence about the shaved head because I finally went and did it in January. Because in
Yeah,
photos, again, I go to these events where I dress very interestingly with costumes and whatnot. And in all the
got you.
photos, I'm seeing all these spots on my scalp. And finally, I was
Hmm.
like, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And she came home from her dad's and she was a little bit like, she's very nice and sweet, but they can only be nice and sweet up to a point because they don't have diplomacy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And she's still a bit on the fence, even though it's been 8-9 months. So
Come on. Not used to it yet?
no.
Come
She's
on.
like, "Well, you look good, mommy, but you looked better with hair." And I was like, "Yeah, well, we do what we do."
That's it. That's it. That's
So,
it.
no pun intended, Heather, did you give her a heads up that you were shaving your head, or did no, you just
And the first time I got it shaved, I thought I would get a cool design done in it, like a
Yeah.
fade or an etching. I'm not really sure of the word, but it turns out that also I don't have enough hair, even at this length,
Oh, no
to
kidding.
support that. So my stylist really tried, but it didn't work out, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I didn't even have that to fall back on.
Got
It
you.
was just buzzed. Mom now has no hair. This is what life is.
This is
Here
what
we
it
go,
is.
kid.
That's it. That's
well,
it.
I think it's interesting because especially with some of the autoimmune diseases, a lot of the symptoms and what we deal with aren't actually physical. You can't
Right.
see our joint pain or stuff that's organ complications. And there's been times where it's like, I wish I had some physical symptoms so people could see what I'm going through.
Right.
But it's a double-edged sword because, hair is like, it's so much a part of us, and that's a big thing to have. I mean, it's a lot to go through to lose it. And so I appreciate you, Heather, and embracing it. And I feel like that's where, because I even looked into getting hair extensions and hundreds of dollars. I'm like, F that. We don't need to do
It's an
that. We're
investment.
just, right?
Investment.
Racing has definitely been, well, it's there, it's in everyone's face, it's in my face, it's short of hiding my head in a paper bag, you're out there. And so I do different things to sort of, when I am feeling, it does hit my self-esteem.
No doubt.
We can talk about it, and I might seem super confident, but I'm not always. I didn't really make this choice because I felt like I had a choice. At the point when I finally made the choice, it's because I felt desperate. And seeing those photos of myself were hurting me more than embracing this now. So I do fun glasses, I play with my makeup, I do my jewelry, I like a feminine aesthetic. I've always lucked into a bit of an edgy aesthetic, so it's worked out for me. But I do have a few wigs. I don't wear them often. I was talking to Karin about it right before the podcast, but between the glasses and then they're just kind of hot and not comfortable for me.
Okay,
But I do buy fun fashion wigs. I have purples and pinks and I think a forest green I'm going to rock this fall when I feel like dressing up and going out and to just do something a little different. But
so Heather, let me ask you this, like, because I know there's different material, like it's like synthetic and like human hair wigs. Like, are all of them like really hot? Like, it doesn't matter, like the material is still kind of the temperature difference?
I know that there's a big difference between them. I've only done inexpensive synthetic wigs from Amazon, and I can tell you those are itchy and hot. And I finally have them. They're like a bob rather than very long.
Got you.
They're pretty uncomfortable for me. I also have sensory issues with various textures and and heat and cold and just I'm a little bit of a fun mess. So, but I have heard that human hair is the way to go. Little higher maintenance and upkeep, but definitely worth the investment for those people who do want to wear wigs on a regular basis. I stick with synthetic, and when I do synthetic, if I want it to look a little more natural, I either get a synthetic with bangs because that'll cover this hairline piece, which is where it can tend to look a little bit uncanny valley, just like a little bit off.
Got you.
Or a lace front synthetic is a good compromise. Lace front's going to cost a little more. Synthetic is still going to keep the price low. That's based on my really limited experience. I just kind of throw them on when I want to have fun, and I try not to worry too much about it. But
I get you. Yeah, I'm thinking. You have me think when you're talking about the glasses and accessories of when I used to shave my head regularly. Like, one, I liked the routine of shaving my head. I grew up watching pro wrestling, so I felt like I was like Stone Cold Steve Austin when I shaved my head. I felt like really tough when I did it. And then it made me get a lot of like really fun hats, because in extreme temperatures, whether it was, I was living in New York at the time, so when it was cold, that wind would just hit my head and just be wicked. I had to get like a great hat. But in the summertime, that heat would just cook your head too. So I just always had to have like a really strong hat game.
I never liked hats up until probably this summer. I'll throw on a winter hat because I live in Wisconsin, and you'll die if you don't. Right.
Right. You won't make it. Exactly.
I got this black sun hat. It's like super floppy and just ridiculously huge, and it has mad like Lydia Dietz from Beetlejuice vibes, and I actually really liked it because I found out the hard way: when you don't have hair, you don't have that same protection from the sun.
Right.
And that is not comfortable. So rock the sun hat, folks.
That's the
it's
truth.
Worth
it. That's the truth here. Just cover your heads, y'all. This is the sun. The sun is unforgiving. Relentless.
Well, for your head, for your skin, everything. It's the vitamin D is important, but it's not you can get that through supplements and other ways. Like, it's so important to have that full protection for skin, because I also think a lot of people don't realize that in addition to just the straight up damage that you're getting physically, like sun damage to your scalp or your skin, you are also like, you're stressing your body by being that much heat, especially if you're sensitive to the sun. So people with some autoimmune diseases really need to be a little bit more careful about how much sun exposure they're actually getting.
That's the truth. Yeah, the shade is your friend. Just stay in that shade.
Yeah. I've fully embraced hats. I pretty much have a baseball hat on wherever I go. Sun hats. We did a family trip and I even got a real traditional cowboy hat.
Come on.
That full coverage, back the neck, everything. Like, I am rocking this. We'll go for it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So you just gotta switch it up, have fun with it, you know?
Yeah. There's an opportunity in everything.
Yeah, it becomes a part of your life, make it an opportunity. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's the biggest thing with any of these challenges that we go through with autoimmune diseases. Yeah, it's hard. It's sad at times. It's like we can feel bad about ourselves, but there is opportunity in everything. And if you can reframe it, you can always reframe it. There's a silver lining to everything. So I think having that, embracing the positive side of it, definitely helps get us through, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And just understanding that, there's going to be different seasons of your life. And I think you kind of do yourself a disservice if you're like chasing after what you used to be able to do and not really embracing where you are now. Like I love I can't emphasize enough just the whole notion, Heather, of really turning it into something where I'm going to have my accessories and let this be like another way in which I'm demonstrating my personality. And I think a lot of what you're saying made me think about the ways in which we sort of like police gender and talk about it in terms of like what feminine looks like, what masculine looks like, and that sort of thing. So just really being able to still express your femininity through like the accessories and through even the way you're styling it. Like, keep doing you, for real.
That's one of our favorite sayings. You do you. Like, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter how it looks. It's just, you got to roll with it. And I think, especially for me early on in my lupus journey, like, I felt like I was missing a part of me and I couldn't be who I thought I was. Like, you're still you internally. It just may look different on the outside or to the rest of the world.
Right. That's right. You're still you. You're still you. I think that's a really important emphasis for sure.
Yeah. Well, you guys are great. Thank you so much for sharing what you know and your experiences about alopecia and dealing with chronic illness and autoimmune diseases. We'll put some notes in our show notes for you guys to reference, and let us know what else you want, what topics we should dive into, because there's a lot of ongoing challenges with chronic illness and autoimmune disease, and we're here to tackle them all, right?
That's it. And also make sure that you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, give us a rating on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're going to keep the conversation and the party going. So make sure you talk back to us and let us know what you want to hear and who you want us to see us in conversation with, for sure. And thanks to Heather so much for just being an amazing person in general, but for sharing your story here today. No doubt. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate your honesty and openness, and that's how we're going to get through this together. So take care. Thanks, guys.
Take care, y'all.
Bye.